Hey Emily, hello.
Hey Mo, how's it going?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, happy to
Um,
be here.
yeah, it's always good to talk with internal guests as well as external guests. Do you want to give people a bit of an overview on what you do at Griffin, and maybe a little bit about how you joined Griffin?
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Emily. I am Ed Carter, our COO's chief of staff. He hates when I make this joke, but I always joke that that means I don't know what I do around here. No, I'm being facetious, but essentially, I I help Ed with everything that he does. So my remit is mostly an overflow of the things that he doesn't have time for or doesn't want to do. I also sort of make sure that our team is running smoothly. I run all our governance processes. On the service slash operations team, kind of manage some of the reporting as well, and just kind of keep things in tip top shape around town and just look after the team.
That makes a lot of sense. You definitely know what you're doing. At
Every
least
day.
that's how it comes across to me.
Well, good. That means I'm doing a good job at faking it. Oh, you asked how I joined Griffin.
Yeah, how did you join Griffin? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a funny story. It's such a small world around here. But so I previously worked at Microsoft. One of my old coworkers, his best friend is Phoebe Wallace's brother-in-law. So our entire team at Microsoft had been laid off right after I moved to London from San Francisco, and Warren was just like, "Hey, I know one person in the UK, and I've sent your resume his way, and good luck." And here we are, almost 3 years later.
It is a very small world, and that was a very good luck.
Yeah,
It's
very,
like,
very blessed. And yeah, I had one chat with Phoebe, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I could definitely go back to a smaller company where I feel like things matter and like my work matters, and I feel like I have tangible output into this place. So I was hooked.
I was going to ask, how did it feel going from one of the world's biggest technology companies to one of the world's smallest banks?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I started my career working for even tinier startups, like 4 people, 6 people, really unsure if the lights were still going to be on tomorrow size startups. And it felt, and that was just what I knew coming out of uni. And that felt like it shouldn't be that chaotic all the time. And so I went completely the opposite direction and joined a company the size of a small nation, and learned a lot. I think that really, I mean, I was at Microsoft for 6.5 years. I learned a ton. I worked for some great people, and just like learned a lot about business in general, but learned about tech, and just really was able to just have the freedom to do things and try things and actually grow in my career and learn that I do want to be a generalist, and I do just kind of enjoy getting my hands dirty in a bunch of things, and not just, oh, like what are the tasks that need to be done tomorrow that don't like that just have to be done, or this business may not survive. So yeah, so when I got laid off, it kind of was like, hey, not to be honest, I'm not really safe at Microsoft, so I might as like I was like, oh, like I'm new to the UK. Do I want to go back to a large company where like it's more stable, or do I want to kind of go back to maybe not quite such a small startup, but somewhere halfway in between? And I thought, yeah, if I'm not safe at a Fortune 500 or Fortune 100, then I might as well go somewhere that I really like the people and I really enjoy the work and I feel like things matter and I feel like every day I'm contributing in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, and I was like, yeah, I like being able to know most people that I work with and have like a strong rapport with them. I really enjoy, yeah, like being able to just hands on do stuff that's different every day. And like, I always say that I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but I think how I've learned on what I like to do is actually from figuring out what I don't like to do. So being somewhere like Griffin allows me to just try a bunch of things and be like, actually not super big fan of that, but I'll keep doing this. And because like my background is in tech, but I was so new to the UK, I have very little understanding of banking, let alone UK banking. So I feel like every day I'm learning something else.
I definitely feel you on the startup having to do such a broad range of things. You're kind of forced to figure out what you like and don't like. Although for people listening or watching, the joke internally was that when we want to grow up, we want to be Ed Carter, our COO. 'Cause
Still true. Still true.
he just grabs hold of everything and gets it done. But no, that makes sense. What was it like moving from the US tech scene to the kind of UK and London tech scene?
Yeah. Easy, I would say. I think especially coming from San Francisco, I'm biased. I'm from San Francisco, so I watched it become the tech scene growing up. It wasn't always like that. But when I kind of came out of uni, I stumbled into tech because that was like, what, 2013-ish? And that's when startups were a thing. WeWork was in its heyday, like that kind of vibe at that time. But it kind of tech took over the entire city in terms of culture, in my perspective. And I know it's like rich for me to say because I was in it, but it just felt like there wasn't really any room left for anybody else. If you weren't in tech, you may potentially not be super successful. And like everything was just around like, what's this new cutting edge thing? And all these really crazy, amazing startups have all started in San Francisco trying to solve problems that we had there. Like Uber started in SF because public transport isn't the greatest there and traffic is also really bad, but like, and parking is difficult. So like, yeah, people just driving around made it make sense. Things like that. And so I felt like coming to London was it was great because I know like London is a huge fintech hub and banks obviously have like a huge presence here in a way that's different from SF. So it felt like this was kind of the tech scene I wanted to be in would be fintech. But at the same time, it doesn't take over the entire city. Like there's so much, most of my friends outside of work all do something else. I actually don't think I have any other friends in tech. If I do, I don't know because we don't talk about it. And that's one of my favorite things about London and the UK is that your career doesn't define you. So it like coming from SF and coming from the tech scene, sure, it's like my career is important to me and it's like working somewhere cool is kind of important to me. But beyond that, like I don't need to go around shouting about it. And it's really interesting every time I meet someone new and it takes such a long time in conversation before it comes up like, oh, what do you do as your day job? Like, because you meet them in an environment that's not work. It's probably like friends of friends or like, wherever place you are. And people just don't really care where you went to school and what you do for a living. It's kind of cool. You only start asking because you're genuinely curious about their life.
That's so interesting. I never thought of that. I mean, it's obvious when you say it that I guess there's such a concentration of tech companies in San Francisco and Silicon Valley that is the only kind of thing. Whereas, yeah, London and the UK generally, it's not like that. It's different industries mixed in. And I guess London, you've got government and civil service and all sorts of things and even manufacturing. And yeah, that's very interesting.
It just kind of felt like I was starting to have the same conversation with different people.
Right,
Like in SF.
right.
Yeah.
That can get quite boring quite quickly. So you work in AI. Oh, you work in AI. Oh, okay, AI. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like Microsoft is not like the coolest name in Silicon Valley. It's very revered, but it's not the coolest. And so it was always like, well, then you get written off because of that. I'm like, well, if you don't work for one of the unicorns or the Googles or the Metas, then it was like no one really cares anymore. I'm like, well, then why'd you ask?
Goodness me. Wow. What is operations at a bank, Emily? For people listening who are like operations in a bank, like what is that?
That's a really great question. I feel like we are the execution hub of the team or of the company. In that our craft team, our engineers, our product teams figure out what we want to build and in what order we want to build them, and then they get built. And the features just get built by engineering and like they get more enhanced and we add new things to the roadmap. There's obviously like the strategic layer, and then there's like the commercial team who signs customers, and then that also kind of informs like how we want to move forward based on the market and things like that. Once that all happens, Operations are the ones who onboard customers, both at our direct customer DC level and our nested customers, our customers level. So our team, specifically the financial crime prevention ops team, FinCrime Ops, they do the DC onboarding in terms of due diligence and risk assessments and all these things. And they work, and currently it's one individual, her name is Cherry. Cherry works very closely with compliance and risk and commercial and the X code to make sure that like all our customers are vetted and we understand exactly what we're going to serve them. From there,
Big shout out to Cherry. Sorry, not to interrupt you, but she's great. Yeah.
yeah, shout out to Cherry. We love Cherry. And then her counterparts then help with NC onboarding, nested customer onboarding, once a DC is live and launched on our platform and they have like an account open with us. And then, yeah, we do, there's different models of onboarding at Griffin. There's two different models. But yeah, we help manage to make sure that they all go through smoothly. And if we need to do any manual reviews on like PEP or sanction screenings or things like that, those all happen in the background as well. And then once they're onboarded, same team, we also manage payments and treasury. So basically, all the things that you think at the top of your head of what a bank would do mostly sits within ops. So yeah, so lots of payment processing and screening for like international payments and making sure those are, you know, smooth and legit and they're coming, you know, into the right places, into the right accounts. We also shout out to our payments girls, Poppy and Harisha. They also do billing and it's also very manual right now. So lots of things are happening to make sure that we have our customers on and that they're transacting and doing all the things, and then also that we're billing for our DCs, and yeah, so like all sorts of movement is happening. So yeah, kind of hard to put into one succinct execution is what I've been saying.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot, and I'm lucky enough to see some of it. Is there such a thing as a typical day, or is it very different depending on what's happening?
I think there is for some individuals,
Cool.
especially now
Yeah.
that we're a little bit more like BAU, business as usual. I think it's been really great to see now that the folks on the team that we hired for at the time are now doing full-time jobs of the job that they're supposed to be doing, because obviously we had to hire for like these subject matter experts well before we were at like scale, which meant then they were also being pulled in many different directions, most of their day spent not doing what they were hired to do, not their expertise. So now it's like, yeah, cool, like yeah, the payments team is actually doing payments, and they were, you know, helping out with so many different parts of the business, and now they're actually like full time on payments and billing, and the FinCrime folks as well. Everyone is up to their eyeballs. So I think for some of the individuals on the team, yes. I would say for Ed and myself, no. We have like, you know, our structured like governance schedule and whatever, but I think beyond that it's quite ad hoc and sort of depends on what fires need to be put out, but also like what is really top of mind for the rest of the company and what kind of what kind of work we need to do in terms of like research or just putting things together. Or I also look after consumer duty, so making sure that we are taking care of our customers and reporting correctly on impact and things like that.
Very, very important stuff. Yeah. I mean, for context, like kind of similar to you, I'd never worked in banking before, and I was like, operations at bank? Like, I don't get it. Like, I'd worked in like physical hardware, you know, companies, and operations was very obvious. It was like, oh, there's a factory. I can see the thing moving down the line. And it was only like, you know, a little bit of time into my stint at Griffin, I was like, operation, right, yeah, the payment is actually a lot more complicated than tapping on Apple or Google Pay.
It's like tapping your funny money.
I was like, that thing is very complicated, and a lot of people make it seem not complicated,
Yeah.
which is you folks.
I hope so. I think we try to do a good job at it, I think. And I can't speak to very much of that day to day, like nitty gritty. But it's funny because I've always had a version of the word operations in my title throughout my career, but I've never had anywhere near the same job. So it's a fair question. What does operations mean? Because I think every company you ask, it actually means something entirely different.
That's a good point as well. Yeah, from not just industry to industry, but company to company, it can encompass different things. Yeah. What gets you like most excited nowadays about your role and what you do at Griffin?
Joined almost 3 years ago now. I think I joined just after the banking license application was submitted. So I didn't have a hand in that, but I was I joined right around the time that we were kind of waiting for it to come back. And since then, just watching the actual growth of this place, like we went from, cool, we would like to be a bank, this is all pending, to, oh, look, we can be a bank with training wheels on, to, oh, we've signed customers and we can like start testing and doing all sorts of things, to, oh, we're running a trial for the bank that's going to launch next month. Oh, we're launching. Oh, we're a bank. Like, this is so cool. To now a little over a year of actually being a bank. So it's just been so cool to see. And I think it's so easy to be in your day to day being like, well, what do I need to do today? What do I need to do this week? What are my deadlines for the month? Or what are the things that we need to achieve by then? But then you kind of step back and you look back on all the things that you have done. And I think one of the biggest changes that I've noticed in ops specifically is when I joined, so much of our work was very theoretical. We had to put processes and procedures in place for things just to show that we've thought about it and this is what we would do, but we didn't have any proof of actually doing it. We didn't have any like real life examples. And now that we have run into most of these scenarios, we then go back and be like, okay, well, we wrote this procedure like 2 years ago now, but now what do we do with it? Now, how do we adapt it to real time, real life with the information we know? So I feel like we always have a reminder of how far we've come, and just like, oh yeah, a lot of this was like just theoretical, and now it's real, and now it's real people, it's real people's money, it's like real life, like there's consequences now, in a good way. But yeah, I think what just gets me excited is I learn something new every day. I still, if you ask me like how does banking in the UK work, I'm probably just gonna be like, I don't really know, but I feel like I do know so much more than I have before, and every day I'm learning something else, and every day I'm like, just seeing us like move as a bank. It's cool. It's really cool.
I mean, you made a really good point as well at the start. I feel like, yeah, we know, day to day we know what we have to do, and you can kind of get stuck in like that day. But yeah, when you step back, you're like, oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, we did the trial run together, and when you said it, I remembered. I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, that was so different then to what's happening now, and it shifts and it moves, and as you say, that brings learning, and doesn't matter which side of like the company you're on. It feels like everyone is kind of trying to keep up with that, and it's very,
Yeah,
very cool.
that was super fun. I remember when we did 2 trial runs. The first one, I kind of was just like helping out on the side. And then right after the first one finished, without even consulting me, Ed just goes in a public channel, at Emily, you're running the next one and it's next week. And I was like, ah! And I felt like that when I finished that was probably one of the proudest moments I had of myself, because if going into it, I was like, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how any of this works, but I do, like, I think we all kind of felt that way. It was like, okay, well, these are the things we think we need to do because this is how it's been mapped out, but is that correct? Is that right? Is it going to work? And you, as our fake customer, same, you were just like, cool, I'm going to try to make a payment, and it worked. Like all these things, it was just so cool. And it was really cool to see it all kind of come through like at a very MVP level of, cool, a customer signs and then we onboard them and they do some stuff in the bank and then we kick them out. Or they leave, like if we have to. So far, I don't think that's really happened before or yet, but it was just very cool to see an entire life cycle within a week, and having all these things we needed to test, and a whole list of things that we wanted to see happen, and we did, and it was cool.
I remember seeing the Griffin bank details on my personal bank account, and I was like, I can't believe this.
I know it's real. There's money going in and there's money coming back out.
What? You mentioned there's been a lot of growth in the last 12 months, and for anyone who follows our CEO, David Jarvis, on LinkedIn, will get his spicy monthly growth post. If you're not following, you should follow David Jarvis. It's very fun. How do you deal with that growth in operations, especially when it can, I guess, be very unpredictable because there's like two layers of customers and there's like two levels of unpredictability almost. Yeah, how do you manage it?
By attempting to not panic. No, I do think we've been lucky in that it has been for the most part, relatively staggered, relatively smooth. It did happen over like a period of time, and I think things like especially things like payments is sure there's like more work to do, but when it scales, it doesn't necessarily create more work. Does that make sense? Like, it's we have introduced like, you know, being able to accept payments coming from overseas, and that's created a little bit of manual work. But like beyond that, our payments STP has always been like 99 point at least 5, not at least 99.5, and so the work that needs to be done there has always been quite minimal, which is nice. Onboarding has been quite stretched for sure, just with having to do manual reviews, and because the way that our like risk appetite was set up, and screening was set up, it was obviously a lot more conservative when we first started and started taking on customers. But now that we're kind of seeing trends and better understanding the information and what we're looking for, those rules can be tweaked through customers integrating with our API. They're able to pull more information, so that we have more information to do our reviews, which maybe causes less reach outs, and just trying to alleviate friction as much as we can. So yeah, there's been busy periods when our customers have migrated their backbooks, and existing customers that it's been really crazy. But beyond that, I feel like, and we're really strapped in that there's like 1 to 2 people per expertise on the ops team. But as long as we don't panic, it is mostly okay. But it is very cool to see, because I do all our weekly reporting as well. So I'll post, you know, in a public Slack channel that's like, hey, this week we've done this, and then it is fun to go and see David's post, and he's like, triple digit growth again. And I was like, yeah, like every week I post these numbers, and I'm not really kind of understanding how much larger they were from last week. Where like I am, but I'm not like, you know, honed in on it as much. But when you zoom out, you can see the hyper growth. Like,
Yeah, I actually took the report that you post every week. First of all, it's super exciting. I'm like, "Ooh, what's it going to be this Monday?" But I took the numbers for I was doing a pitch somewhere, and then I took the numbers to create like a monthly average growth, and I couldn't quite believe the number that the spreadsheet was spitting out, and I was like, no, wait, this must be wrong. This is like way too high, and I kept checking it over and over again. And I was like, no, okay, it is that. It is just quite, yeah. It's very crazy, but I think as you put it, we've iteratively like been hacking away at some of the points of friction that didn't necessarily need to be there, or that we now, as you said, have a better understanding. It's very, very cool to see. Yeah,
very cool.
No, that is very cool. Final question from me. What are you most looking forward to for the rest of the year?
Ooh.
Apart from going on holiday.
Well, just kidding. Yeah, I'm just excited to keep seeing us grow and sign cool new customers, and in different industries and different sectors, and yeah, and seeing all the different ways that all these innovative fintechs can utilize Griffin services, and just further define what kind of bank we want to be as well. Which sounds weird, I know, but like, you know, I think you know what I mean. In terms of like, yeah, like how do we want to establish ourselves, and be this like household name eventually. So I'm just along for the ride, and I'm very excited to be a part of it.
Well, thank you for everything you do, Emily, and thank you for joining us today. We will let you get back to the many, many things that you have on your plate, and I'll promise I'll get you what I owe you for tomorrow
Appreciate
morning.
you. Thanks, Mo. This was lovely.
Yeah, no, really nice to chat. Thank you so much, Emily.